next year, no, I'm not supposed to say that. And Yuko Fujikaki, please thank them for their meeting. Outside the guards and the palace, where some part of the people leave and another guard comes in. So happy you have to welcome the new guard, so to speak. Martina Meurs, Maureen McNeil and Paul Wouters, who have been elected this year by you. So as you know, we have several prizes. The society prides itself in this prize. I mean, it's not an enormous amount of money, but it's a lot of prestige, lots of work to give them. And it's always very important for those who have received them and for those who give the prize. And the first prize is the Nicolas Mullis Award, and it will be presented by Alondra. That's Alondra.
On behalf of the award committee, which is Anne Gerenberg, Helen Duran, and myself, it is a pleasure to present the 2005 Nicholas C. Mullins Award for the Best Graduate Student Paper to Michael Oldani of Princeton University and the University of Wisconsin at Whitewater for his paper, Thick Prescriptions, toward an interpretation of pharmaceutical sales practices. And the paper, I should let you know, has subsequently been published in Medical Anthropology Quarterly. Like the influential work by Clifford Geertz, from which the essay borrows its title, with rich detail, Thick Prescriptions excavates what the author terms the gift cycle of pharmaceutical sales and marketing that take place between physicians, salespeople, and patients. Drawing on fieldwork and autoethnography, the author shows how the salesperson or drug rep remains crucial to this exchange triangle, even in the direct-to-consumer era, for they alone can provide the free drug samples that consumers demand from physicians per advertising prompts. In turn, the physician incurs a social debt to the salesperson and in many instances feels obligated to listen to a sales pitch, and so it goes, the gift cycle. Oldani argues that this gift cycle is not new to the business of pharma, but describes a pharmaceutical involution, again borrowing from Geertz, that began in the mid-1990s with the addition of information technology to the practices of gift and knowledge exchange and social interaction. Information technology, he argues, compresses the social time of gift exchange. In the tradition of the best social science scholarship, this originally conceived and elegantly composed micro-level case study elucidates the larger networks that comprise the contemporary pharmaceutical industry. Join me in congratulating Michael Oldani.
Get a copy of that videotape for my dissertation defense. That was quite an introduction. Thank you very much. I was told I had a few minutes, so I just would like to thank Alondra, of course, and the awards committee. It's a real honor to receive the award. And, excuse me, a little nervous. But I'd also like to thank some people that really helped me make the transition. I was in the corporate world in the 90s, as you may have guessed, in the pharmaceutical industry, and there were some people who welcomed me to academia when they were at Princeton. That was Emily Martin, Jim Boone, Joel Beal, Rena Letterman, Larry Rosen, and they were very instrumental in helping me translate that experience of being a drug rep into sort of an anthropological framework. So I'm forever grateful to them. And the last thing I'd like to say is I'm really inspired by the conference to keep pursuing these questions of the pharmaceutical. And I really realize after being here the importance of an interdisciplinary way of going at these questions. So thank you very much.
Well, it's great to know that people from corporate domain come to us. I mean, this is probably a nice relief in capitalism and neoliberalism. You have understood that the great thing about the society is that you get to take when you get in the world. I mean, and the taste of the pig, of course, will fit. It's a great artistic object that you can hang it on your wall. So the second prize about society is the ratio of the caste and the prize, and it would be presented by Gary Downing. Gary?
So, have you ever wondered why there is no birth control pill for men? As a father of 4 children, I certainly have. At least, right up until that vasectomy. However, as Nellie Elmshorn forces one to ask while reading the male pill, a biography of the technology in the making, is this sort of wonder in any sense innocent? Was I, for example, enacting an emergent masculine identity of the responsible, caring man, as I sometimes hope is the case, who was generously acknowledging that his partner Marta had had difficulty with oral contraceptives in the past and had long ago abandoned them? Or was I enacting an hegemonic masculinity, as I am all too often forced to admit, grudgingly? In the sense that now having tangible proof of my virility, I was now fantasizing about having greater control over my participation in reproduction. This time so I could guarantee sexual pleasure without the risk of more college tuition to pay. Indeed, as Nellie shows us, the operations of hegemonic masculinity here are cut 2 ways. For the fitful development of the male pill that restrains sperm production also makes all too visible the hegemonic male predisposition to make sexual fulfillment dependent upon, as they say, shooting bullets. Military metaphor wholly intended. After all, I said I wondered about a male pill. I didn't say I would actually use it. And indeed, remembering the fact that after I got the green light for that vasectomy, it actually took me another 6 months to undergo the procedure. And that, thinking about that, makes me cringe. Damn you, Nellie. You see, one of the reasons that the male pill deserves the Rachel Carson Prize from the Society for Social Studies of Science is because it makes a cultural move that enables and forces readers to address questions such as these in their own lives. The distinguishing feature of the Rachel Carson Prize is social and political relevance. And one sense in which this book is supremely relevant lies in how it transforms vague expressions of wonder, desire, and indeed fear into informed analysis of how the prospect for an emerging reproductive technology, as well as constituent features of that emergence, reinscribes identities, producing both changes and continuities and forcing their attention to that relation, forcing attention to the relation. But the male pill also deserves the Carson Prize because it successfully integrates the cultural move into a full-blown historical and ethnographic account of network building and technological development, directly, thoroughly, and decisively formulating and answering the question, why is there no male pill? You see, the pharmaceutical industry took itself out of the game early on, with the evidence indicating concern with the fact that it's much more difficult to inhibit sperm production 24/7 than egg production once a month, and where zero emission seems to be as unattainable in ejaculation as it is in the burning of fossil fuels. And with the prospect, also with the prospect of liability suits in failed cases, due to a kind of cultural desire for a Delaney clause limiting pregnancy risk to 0. But also with the idea that men would use it anyway because of that shooting bullets thing. Now that's my term, by the way. As a good ethnographer, Nellie successfully resists a myriad of opportunities to resort to cheap humor knowing that any such attempt would turn out to be at the expense of someone whose experiences she's faithfully recounting epigraphically. Nellie understands the problem of the audience. So, this author was faced with the challenge of accounting for a technology in the making, not by looking backward from its achieved stabilization, but by investigating and accounting for a technological absence. The question, why does the technology not exist, is a novel one for STS research. To answer this question, Nellie Elsworth painstakingly introduces all the players and documents the networks, science, and gender and other cultural work involved in efforts to achieve an oral contraceptive for men. And what you too will be able to explain if you want to be configured as a better user of the book, and join Nellie, Adele Clark, Lee Starr, Viva Biker, and myself tomorrow at 1:30 at the Author Meets Critics session in Pasadena 2, is how public sector organizations, especially the World Health Organization, were the main actors to take up the challenge. How their strategy was involved trying to build a protected space for this work. And how getting men to go to the doctor for other than the treatment of diseases is requiring some creative gender work, privileging once again a heterosexual white male in a stable relationship. How emergent reproductive clinics for men offer more health services than are offered by clinics for women. How journalism has served interestingly as a voice of resistance. And what it was that got the pharmaceutical industry turned around and on board for an oral contraceptive for men. In sum, the male pill, so it is now emergent. The male pill deserves the Carson Prize because it successfully does configure its users, so that after seriously engaging in this work, which effectively lies both inside and outside of STS at the same time, they are able to cogently formulate and answer questions, such as why do I fantasize about or fear a male pill? And why exactly is it not here? But before were only vague expressions of interest and wonder. So, on behalf of the Society for Social Studies of Science and the Carson Committee that also included Yuko Fujikaki and Brenda Valshpies, I am both pleased and honored to award the Rachel Carson Prize for a book-length work of social or political relevance in the area of science and technology studies to Nellie Elsworth, the male.
Well, there's something about this topic and humor. To be honest, it was also used as a strategy by clinicians when they first had to put up an organized clinical trials for them. They used a lot of humor and purposeful, so it says something about our culture. But your humor was much better. So, thank you, Gary, and the committee for giving me this prize. But when I first heard about this, I thought it's a real privilege to get this prize from this society. Because the Society for Social Studies of Science has been a very warm intellectual home for me ever since the beginning of my academic career. The Society gave me not only great colleagues, but also very fine, good friends. So that's the first thanks I want to give to all of you. Then it's also a great honor to receive the Carson Prize. Because Rachel Carson's work reflecting on this, it has been important for me during my whole life. Starting as a biologist and now an STS, for many different reasons, and I want to shortly tell you about this. First, it was in the mid-1970s, and yes, we become a little bit older, so it was already in the mid-1970s, that I was a biology student, and we used Carson's book, Science Spring, as a very good tool, very useful tool, to argue that the University of Amsterdam should establish a special department of biology and society to teach students about social responsibility of biologists. And I was then a member of this group, and I had not realized what the consequences for my own life would be. Because our activism was quite successful, so we ended up with the department. And I became involved with the department, and that led to a very drastic change in my career, because I decided that I did not longer want to be a biologist working in a laboratory, but I became an STS. So that's why Then secondly, I'm also very happy to receive the Carson Prize, because it's a prize, like Gary said as well, it's introduced to celebrate and acknowledge also the social relevancy of our work. So I'm very happy that the Carson Prize is. To be short about it, I think that no one will doubt that Rachel Carson would never have written Science Spin without her commitment to environmental problems. Now, reflecting on my own work, I could never have written The Main Pill without commitment to and inspiration by the women's health movement. After all, it were women's health activists who first asked the question, what about the main pill? In my research, I learned that this kind of activism has been one of the major sources of innovation in this field, in addition to activism of governance in 1,000 countries, notably India and China. So I'm very happy that I was in that moment of time that I could take up this question that I initially thought it was nice for a student paper. But then I discovered it was so rich that I could write a whole book about it. So I feel very privileged to be in that moment of time, to be able to write this book. Finally, 3 weeks ago I was visiting Norway in Trondheim for my last visit as guest professor. And for those of you who know Norway, Norway is so beautiful because it has these fjords. And I visited the Sonja fjords, and there was a small village there, a village, Fjärran was the name, that was made into a shop village. And I was just going in one of these shops because it was raining there. And then, quite by coincidence, I discovered another book by Rachel Carson. I didn't know it exists. She wrote it in 1951, and the title is The Sea Around Us. And I thought that this title, not the title, can be made read as a second version, so you can still see the relevancy of Carson's work. But the book also reminded me that I had to prepare the speech, so I thought this was a good way to think and reflect on the work. So the circle is round. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lily, and thank you very much, Gary. And now we move to the third prize, the Ludwig Fleck Prize, which will be presented by Steve Hilgard. Steve? Steve? You have to take. Yes, I do. This year's Ludwig Fleck Prize will be awarded to Peter Keating and Alberto Cambrosio for their book Biomedical Platform, published in 2003 by the MIT Press in its Inside Technology series. And I want to outline some of the reasons very briefly that the Fleck Committee decided that this is the book that should receive the award, and why we wanted to recognize the book. The Fleck Committee this year consisted of Ulrike Fell, Jane Somerton, and myself. And I can only, in the most brief
way say what some of the virtues of this book are, because it's an extremely complex and detailed and subtle book. It's 544 pages long, and if I were to go on at length about it, well, everyone would fall asleep. Suffice it to say that this book operates on a number of different levels. Okay, on the one hand, it has an extremely detailed gaze that looks at the development of an important diagnostic technology that's been really important in oncology and age research and a variety of things, and this is immunophenotyping. And at the same time, it maintains a kind of broad structural gaze that looks at the emergence of the constellation, how the kinds of practices that we now conventionally think of as biomedicine emerge and take shape in the post-war period, what those practices look like. So that it has a combination of these two levels, and you can imagine that it might be difficult to bridge the chasm between this intense level of detail and also the ability to talk about formation of new constellations of practices in this longer period. The way that they do that is by introducing a novel concept, the biomedical platform. And basically, this is a concept that is kind of begins as an actor's category in a way, in that. The idea of a platform is something that the people they were studying was using, but then they expanded and used it as an analytic tool. And the platform metaphor is, well, probably the easiest way to grasp it is to think of the computer platform as a metaphor, and that's a familiar one. And the computer platform becomes kind of a base of software or hardware on which a lot of other kinds of action can take place. And Cambrosio and Keating define a biomedical platform as, and I'll quote just a bit, a set of material and discursive arrangements that act as a bench, and you can think of the connotations of the laboratory bench, upon which conventions concerning the biological or normal, on the one hand, are connected with conventions concerning the medical or pathological, on the other hand. And the metaphor aims to capture the dynamics of building and maintaining and regulating these connections. And so in doing this, Cambrosio and Keating invoked a variety of senses of the term platform. I mean, platforms, on the one hand, like this one that I'm standing on at present, need to be built, and yet they also become springboards for action. They provide stability, and yet they're also points of departure. And they're also programmatic, in the sense that a political platform is a programmatic entity. And so the Fleck Committee was persuaded that the concept of a biomedical platform reaches beyond some of the other extant concepts that you might want to apply to try to understand change and what's special about biomedicine in the late 20th century and early 21st century and so forth. Some of the concepts like networks, experimental systems, or accounts that focus on the coordination of action, things of that sort. This moves beyond those. It gives a different and unique kind of account. But to really grasp the utility of the platform metaphor, these kinds of gesturings, the different connotations that the term has, can only get you so far. What you really have to do is see what they do when they start to apply it to the detailed case of immunophenotyping. And this case study of the development of the immunophenotyping platform is a tremendous tour de force. It's wonderfully detailed. It draws on a huge variety of ethnographic and historical and technical sources. It weaves them together into a really impressive account and shows how biology and medicine, lab and clinic, the normal and the pathological are juxtaposed and aligned and realigned in ways that create new biomedical practices and new forms of regulation and action. And so for all of these kinds of reasons, which I can only really hint at because the level of detail and complexity in the account are so impressive and the scholarship is so good, we were very pleased to award this to Peter Keating and Alberto Cambrosio. And so if they would come to this platform now, I'll present them the class. Oh, I should say, this is the first time any of the 4F book prizes have ever been awarded to a co-authored entity, and so we're handing out some plaques. There's a collective author here. This is yours. Now they're being individuated. Here you go. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Well, as Steve just said, this is the first time that the court of book wins the Black Prize. And now, since we are in an era of cyborgs, hybrids, boundary objects, and the like, this is a move in the reflexive and therefore the supposedly right direction. But it also creates a practical problem. We have been told that we just have 4 minutes each to speak. And so we have to say how we came to write this book, etc. And no, this is a long story. Just 4 minutes. So let's get straight to the point.
The point. I'm the point. We were being trained in the strict Bachelard-Canadian Foucault tradition of historical epistemology, not an internet or bizarre American versions, but in the European tradition. Few here will remember such notions as epistemological grade or epistemologique, which roughly translates as golden jugular. Nor the creating sense of the enterprise had somehow become counterproductive insofar as it was increasingly limited to commentary or description.
Yeah, well, and then Latour book, Laboratory Life, was published. And we were graduate students, and we read it as a revelation that sociology of science was not limited to science policy or social reductionist explanations in terms of interest and the like. And then, immediately after the publication of Laboratory Life, Bruno came to Montreal and was kind enough to have a long walk with us on the Mont Royal Park. He most certainly has no recollection whatsoever of that walk, but the discussion we had with him at that occasion changed our intellectual life. We soon began investigating monoclonal antibodies, and this ended up in our first joint book, and this book then led to the second one on platforms. So, well, thanks, Bruno.
Many years later, I voiced out kind of whiskey later. It's such a contrast here. I'm a man. Many years later, we read the George Weinberger's books and our reports on experimental systems, and we learned that our training in the Bachelard-Canadian Foucault tradition had not been in vain. By leafing through the platform book, one can easily detect the presence of Hans Jorge's work. And if you think that Bruno and Hans Jorge form a somewhat unlikely pair of plugins, this is in some sense true, but then look at the semiotic link. I don't anymore. Oh, sorry.
No, that was the historical part. Now, just for the personal things. I just wanted to thank my colleagues at McGill and Department of Social Studies and Medicine, which is a STS dream come true. And also, I would like, since I travel very often to Europe, I would like to travel what I consider, to thank what I consider basically my second home department, which is the Centre de Sociologie et d'Innovation at the École des Mines. I always find a perfect intellectual home there every time I go there, and I also find an office, which is very important. And last, on a very, very personal note, I would like to thank Pascal. She was not able to be here this night, but some of her friends are around here. And so I hope that they will tell her that I was thinking at her.
And I also thank you
in particular for my colleagues at the Inter-University Center for the Study of Science and Technology at my home institution, which is not the University of Montreal, as I've been told more than 1,000 times, the University of Quebec, Montreal, which is not known, but a quite large institution. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Well, probably you understand that we have the beginning of a great comical couple starting a new career. And the last prize is the Bernard prize. The name, as you understand, the name of all the prizes comes back into time. We started with Mullins, and then Carlson, and then Fleck, and then Bernard. And it will be presented by people, by people.
The John Desmond Burnell Prize is the highest honor that this society bestows upon an individual. The prize is awarded for distinguished contribution to the field, and it is awarded jointly by the Society for Social Studies of Science and the Institute for Scientific Information. The 2005 Burnell Prize is awarded to Donald Mackenzie. Thank you. You understand the pause. To be honest, the members of the jury, Bruno Latour, Helga Novotny, Mike Lynch, and myself, were surprised to discover that Donald hadn't yet received the prize. Donald Mackenzie continuously produces groundbreaking and excellent work on a variety of expanding topics, from the history of statistics via the sociological history of missile accuracy to the sociology of financial markets. Indeed, groundbreaking, agenda-setting, and fundamentally shaping the field of social studies of science and technology. If I meet someone who is willing to concede that science may be socially constructed, maybe even machines work only as the result of social processes, but that's surely something like mathematics, then I cite Donald Mackenzie's History of Statistics in Britain. If I have a student who despairs at the difficulty to get access to certain secretive cases, I cite Mackenzie's prize-winning study of the American and Russian military-industrial complexes to develop nuclear missile guidance. If I do not understand the dealings of the Alex Greenspans in this world and financial market developments, then I decide to read next year Donald's newest book, An Engine, Not a Camera, How Financial Models Shape Markets. Then I will understand. Mackenzie's work is not overloaded with polemics, but it is certainly socially and politically engaged. Inventing Accuracy, for example, has become a true classic. Also a classic that shows how an engaged STS scholar can combine his anti-nuclear political preferences with a thorough and sound analysis of the details of the relevant technology and science. Mackenzie finds those insides of black boxes full. He finds them full of opportunities to turn an interpretation of the world into a strategy to change the world. His coining of the phrase "uninventing the bomb" is one of those results. It doesn't make sense to cherish one aspect of Mackenzie's scholarship more than others. It's exactly that balance of scholarship and engagement, of theory and fieldwork, of sociological analysis and historical detail that makes his work into one of the prime examples in the social studies of science and technology. Still, personally, I think that Donald's capacity to get into the nitty-gritty of his case studies is at the core of also the wide theoretical and political perspectives that he can show us. His detailed knowledge of the nuts and bolts of Pearson's correlation, or MIT's gyroscope, or Appel and Hagen's proof of the four-color theory, or the options pricing theory of Black, Scholes, and Merton, the sun. It may exasperate some students about the high standards of technical knowledge that they should need. Other students find consolation that such a level of insight was possible on the basis of a Bachelor of Science and a PhD in sociology. These scholarly achievements more than merit the awarding of the Burnell Prize to Donald Mackenzie. But the jury also wants to note other services, contributions to the field and to our society. Some of us know, some of us on the committee as well, know Donald as an excellent, trustworthy, and which is very exceptional, deadline meeting reviewer. And all of us have the reader that he prepared with Julie Weichman on our bookshelves, the older members of the society in 2 volumes. Because of its central role of that volume in much STS teaching, this is one of the constitutive texts of social studies of technology. Mackenzie's work, the jury decided, stands for a perfect summary of everything that makes our field so great. Donald?
Thank you ever so much. This is absolutely huge honour, and I'm kind of enormously moved to get the Burnell Prize. And thank you, Phoebe, for that wonderful little speech. In fact, I wanted you to carry on. You know, I'd be happy just to sit there and listen to more of that. Because I like hearing about my virtues. But I think honesty kind of forces me to say that there's a lot of plain, dumb luck involved in ending up getting yourself onto a platform such as this. And in particular, I think luck in finding myself with the right people at the right time. Because after all, Bruno Latour and Michel Callon and many others have taught us that you don't have to attribute agency to individual human beings alone, which is what our culture tends to do, but also you can attribute agency to hybrid socio-technical collectives. And you know, the technical tools that we tend to need for our sort of work are pretty simple, but still by far from universally diffused. You know, we need good computer networks, good libraries, and if you do the kind of work that I do, which involves going to talk to people and going to see things, then you need access to air tickets and to hotel rooms and the like. And, you know, those things don't come cheap, and it's a terrific privilege to be able to have them, and that's one form of luck. But I think the more fundamental form of luck that I've had has been in terms of people, getting to know the right people at the right time in the right places, and it has been luck. I mean, there's been no kind of planning involved in that. The luck kind of started in the 1970s in the Science Studies unit at the University of Edinburgh. I was very moved by what Lee said last night about, you know, how demoralizing and individualizing and isolating the experience of doing a PhD thesis can be. And one of the great good fortunes of being in the Science Studies unit at that point in time was it wasn't like that at all. Because that was the time when the strong program was being formulated by Larry Barnes and David Blue, and people like John Law and Brian Wynne and Andy Pickering were coming onto the scene. And that was a terrific place, terrific stroke of luck to find oneself there, and to find oneself doing a PhD thesis that your supervisors genuinely were interested in. Then I think the second bit of good luck was the 1980s, and getting involved in technology studies, finding myself with people like Judy Wiseman in Edinburgh only too briefly, Graham Spinardi, who fortunately has been able to stay in Edinburgh, and then many other people outside of Edinburgh, Phoebe himself, Trevor Pinch, and the like. And then finally, I think the third piece of good luck has been in terms of the work on financial markets. And again, by good fortune, finding other scholars getting interested in this at the same point in time. Karen Canor-Settinger, Yuval Milo, Fabien Nunez, Vincent Lepine, Michel Callum's work in the background of it all, Caitlin Zaloom, Daniel Booth, David Stark, and the like. And I think in each and every case, the collective work that's been done has been worth a lot more than the sum of the individual contributions to it. And, you know, as academics, and we live in a very, very individualizing kind of culture. But agency in academia is attributed individually, and the rewards follow that attribution of agency. And even prizes like this, wonderful as they are part of that individualizing of agency. And I think we, above all, need to remember the collective aspects of academic work. And I think we do remember, and I think this is one of the great strengths of the Society for Social Studies of Science, that those collective work, those collective aspects are cherished in what we do as well as in what we write. And I certainly hope that we're never going to forget those collective aspects of academic work. Thank you.
Well, I think I would disagree with Don. I think with very characteristic modesty trying to distribute the agency. When I really don't work, I always think that if the Lord was threatening this world to destruction and I had to pray to him to save him, I would say that there is one Mackenzie and you should not destroy him. Well, as you all understood, I was an interim president between Wiebe Baker and the next president, which I'm now very pleased to introduce. I presided over a decrease of about a fourth of a membership of this society. But we need the interim president because they cannot all be like Gibbon and they cannot be all like Lee. So now Lisa is the president starting now, and I welcome her on this platform, which has now taken the lead.
Thank you, Bruno, and you don't get quite to leave yet, as you probably know. Bruno asked first that I say a second thank you to Marianne DeLay, the program organizer. But we were a bit too hasty to just say thank you to her. And I think it's also time to say thank you to Bruno. And he worked here service for us, but has been doing another kind of service work in intellectual leadership for all the time I've been part of STS and longer. And as a very routine part of our thanks to you, we would like to give you a present. I want to tell you about it. It comes from LNS Trophies on 4641 Perkins Road, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, which also has a fax machine, and it is America's favorite honor award plaque. And furthermore, you can hang it that way or that way. But given that the writing is this way, you may wish to hang it on the wall. If you hang it on this way. Thank you. That happened during the last year, which I think was fairly extraordinary, is that Lucy Suchman and I were both nominated to be president of the society, and we were a little bit horrified because we saw ourselves not, in some ways, as not distinct, not distinct, that we didn't necessarily represent different communities that we've been involved together for many years in informatics and feminism and communities that overlap in other ways. And we tried to come up with a plan to be co-presidents. It didn't work. But I think next time it might. And I think it would have been probably a pain in the ass, but also we would have learned something about ourselves and about the society. So thank you, Lucy. I would have been happy to try. Now, really, only my important job here is to say, okay, please come to Vancouver next year. Mark your calendars right now, everybody get out of there. The 2nd to the 4th of November, and we will be meeting jointly with the History of Science Society and with the Philosophy of Science Association. And I think, if all goes well, that the following year we will meet in Montreal. So we'll have 2 Canadian meetings in this.
So good night.